Good evening and welcome to the Holy Spirit's Blog Talk Radio Show. I'm your host, Minister G.L. Hardin, and I thank you all for tuning in. Tonight's show is basically about the rulers of this so-called world, the powers that be, so to speak, and how that power, that wealth, has held for centuries is about to fade, my beloveds. And that is the signs of the times. Not anything to be necessarily excited about because we've been there. Meaning in the beginning of creation, there was no monetary world of corruption, of evil. There was no sickness. There was no disease, not even betrayal. All these things came when a different species entered this earth. They learned the ways of the original people and decided to use it for evil. And now that their time is simply up, and the only people who knows that right now is them. And why? Because they did a wonderful job of dividing people among age, gender, ethnicity, class, race, especially, till they, meaning the people of God, and of this world, they do not know who the hell they really and truly are. Even in biblical times when God talked about the Gentiles, God was simply talking about every other single creature on earth who was a living thing that has breath, to be oneness, coming together and being oneness. I say this all the time. Show me in the Bible where it said Hispanic. Show me where it says African American. Show me where it says white. Show me where it says Jew. Not Jew, but German. A shame. It's quite simple, my beloveds. Either you were a believer or a non-believer. And that was all God needed to know. So for all the people of this nation living abroad and in the U.S., until you wake up and you realize that you are all the same people, when those calamities come in the next few years or so, and you're not united by then, I want you to be reminded that and know that it was your ignorance and your stubbornness towards your fellow brothers and sisters is why your family and yourself won't make it. And that's what they are counting on, the elites. That is that for you to lose your damn mind and begin killing one another out of fear and out of lack of resources. And I'll say this again. It's their last dance. These alien elites, and they are going out with a bang, I promise you. But to God be the glory, for he will rescue all who trust and believe in him. And that is your warning or your message for today. So we're going to be discussing a few reasons why they are falling, meaning the elites, and what you can do to prepare yourself for their man-made disasters that will last but a season. So I want you to really pay close attention to some of these things that are going to happen, or that has happened, how they are being exposed from what they're doing. But in the meantime, don't forget to check us out, if you will, on our Blog Talk Radio weeknights about this time around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can go to our website, and there you can check us out and chime in, if you will, and email us or go to our site at www.blogtalkradio.com /Holy Spirit, and Spirit is spelled with a Z. And there, follow us on that page, and there you can go into our archives and find a multitude of shows in the archives dating back to last June. And I'm sure you'll be enlightened and inspired once you visit that page. You can also feel free to hit us on our Facebook page at Inspiring Truths, and there you can check out all the latest that has been going on, and like us and send us a message so we can friend you and become a fellowship with you as well. We also have another Facebook page called the Holy Spirit's ITV /radio show. You can also go there and like that page. That's our fan page, and like us on that fan page, and you can have all the latest updates dealing with the show and upcoming shows, because we will be in the near future broadcasting live on different sites, downtown Atlanta and so forth. And we'd like for you to be a guest once we began to start doing that. So again, please follow us, like us. And finally, you can check us out on our webpage at www.holyspiritsradio.org. And there you can check us out, the latest information dealing with our shows from health to healing. And drop us a line on our contact page. Tell us how the show has inspired you, empowered and enlightened you and your family. And we would love to hear from you. And don't forget to tune in on Saturdays for a live taping of the By His Blood Ministries at 7:15 Eastern Time with our very own Minister G.L. Harden giving us a word for the ages. And our Sunday morning worship service begins at 7:45 a.m. and at Sunday evening at 6 p.m. as well. And that's the By His Blood Worship Services Weekend Report. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you there. You can check us out live each and every weekend at www.ustream.tv /channel /BHB Ministries. And you can also check us out on our Ustream live on the Holy Spirit's Blog Talk Radio show at www.ustream.tv /channel /Holy Spirits. And again, you can check us out live or just go to the archive shows and be truly enlightened. So again, here we are, and we're talking about the elite or the wealthy and the powerful losing their control over the universe. One of the ways that we can take a hard look at this is how the world now views this government, especially since 9/11. We've seen time and time again in the U.S. mainly how our very own government lied about the plane crash and who really was responsible for those planes going into those Twin Towers back in 2001. So what did the government do? Well, they did what most wealthy corporations always do. They went to war. Not on Afghanistan, who was alleged to have ordered those attacks. No, we didn't do that. We went after Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, over there in Iraq, who was supposed to have had weapons of mass destruction. And here we are now, some 13 years later, in 2014, talking about a debacle that happened a few years ago in the Benghazi, in which no one is telling the truth. So you can truthfully say that the people of this nation have lost respect and trust from the government and the country. There was a recent poll that was done that suggests that only 10% of Americans still have faith in the government dealing with affairs of this nation. So that means a whopping 90%, they are totally fed up and they demand new leadership. But the question here is, will they go out into the polls this midterm and vote those old asses out and get some new blood flowing through the streams of America. And I say this all the time, people. You got to understand something. Dealing with voting. Listen, we clearly understand that the government doesn't run this country. Corporations run this country. We understand that. But you have to understand that those politicians are under corporations. All of them. Local and federal. The problem here is when you got an elected official who's been in politics, I'm going to tell you, more than 5 years, there's a 90% chance he's corrupt or she's corrupt. She's been bought and sold. That's why I don't favor, God rest his soul, Ted Kennedy, folk just being in government for 15, 20 something years. And people just go to the polls and just vote because it's a household name. No, that ain't it. The devil is a liar. You got to vote with your conscience and with your spiritual mind. And I'm going to talk about the mind in a minute, because part of the reason why people accept so much from these countries, not just America, but worldwide, is what they're putting into your food. It's dumbing you down. It's making you easy to accept a new world order or some type of takeover of any kind. It's what you're eating. That's why prayer and meditation is so vital in your life. Because when you have the power of prayer and meditation and you're having a relationship with God, you might be eating some of the wrong things, but that power and that spirit that dwells inside of you by God heals you. It cures you. People don't understand. I hear people all the time say, well, there's GMOs and everything. We're going to die of something. That may be true. But that means your spirit as a human being dies, because truth be told, people who even make that statement, you dead already. You're already dead. Because your mind has been defeated. So awesome. So awesome people have this defeated mindset. I'm talking grown ass people. You're going to die anyway, so you might as well eat what you want to eat. Another reason you can detect friction on the horizon for the wealthy is that most Americans don't trust the usual watered down news that they, the powerful and wealthy, control. They control the people. No confidence in the media. There's a poll that came out recently that said 77% of the population no longer trusts corporate TV. That's what it is, people. It's corporate. CNN, Fox News, is corporate television. It is there to influence you, persuade you, keep you fearful. One thing I used to watch, I tell you, one of the best reality shows I've ever seen was the Bush administration with Cheney. It was so sloppy, if you're spiritual minded, to listen to either one of them talk, even the press and all the shows, the CNNs and all of them, NBC, whatever, ABC. It was comical, because all they did was they kept fear into the American people, while they were on the back end stealing and swindling money from the Middle East, stockpiling. And you sitting there thinking, oh, these soldiers are fighting for us. No, they wasn't. They were over there taking somebody else's oil. And we're going to talk about those soldiers in just a moment as well. Is it any wonder why the establishment media failed to sell the lies about the alleged Syria chemical event. Remember that? With all their monopoly might over the airways, they can no longer claim that black is white simply because the officials say so. Then there's bankers. Many countries, such as Hungary, they have gone after those big banks. Yet that is one tree in America that is so corrupted, and there's so many nations in the pot because we owe everybody everything, and yet we are still borrowing at record numbers. But yet look at Hungary. They recently became the first country to follow Iceland's lead by shedding international bankers, and is considering pursuing prosecution of the prime minister who enslaved the people in debt, with debt. It's a crime, people. Everything that happened with the housing market, that was a crime. And they got away with it, and nobody went to jail. It wasn't even legal. It wasn't even legal. And thank God for Hungary, they're going after their president, former president, for putting the people in debt. They telling the bankers, hell no. Even in the Vatican, they are doing a little spring cleaning, so to speak, with the new Pope, who has really become the most respected and loved Pope in a long time, with all the controversies that have plagued the Vatican in recent years, from priests being caught up in scandals with kids, and now it seems even the church is trying to regain the trust of the people while revamping their walls and their reputation. People don't know what to believe, and the church must be in the center of what's to come. And that can only come by having a godly-like spirit and atmosphere. It's a shame that so many churches, and this really bothers me to even talk about. You look at churches worldwide. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about African American churches. Just churches in a general. And we know why Christ instilled the church before he left. It was to be a reminder, a place of worship, a place of remembrance, and a place of unity. And yet, you can go to any city, any country, and churches have collected trillions of dollars over the last few decades. And yet there's still a hunger. There's still poverty, unemployment. All these things that churches know they should be doing, and they could unite because they are one body. That's what I'm saying to you. The church is the body. Christ is the head. But we've gotten so divided by religion. And not even just by religion, but by egos. There's egos in the churches with pastors, priests, bishops, you name it, apostles, ministers. Nothing is getting done. Beautiful buildings are going up all over the world. Building funds. And yet people are still starving. People are still homeless. Crime is ridiculous in the city of Chicago. Murders, 20, 30, 40 murders, shots. People getting shot like a war zone. And yet you haven't seen any major pastors or whatever they call themselves now. Jesus didn't even call himself anything. I don't know why the hell you got to call yourself a bishop or pastor or pope. Jesus even asked the disciples, who do they call me? Because he wasn't concerned about who he was. Hey, I'm Christ. I'm the Holy One. Respect me. So busy wanting to be idolized by your members. But the same community that you raping the money out of is depleted and dead. So are you telling me that you are really a government institution, churches? Because that's what it looks like and sounds like. You are basically a government institution, and we understand that government institutions mean you don't help the people. Because why? They are corporate institutions. They are corporations. So they all go hand in hand. And that's the truth. That is something I didn't want to talk about, but the Holy Spirit led me to say it. Many soldiers are even speaking out about the war, even on Twitter, Facebook, all those social medias. And before, they wouldn't say one word about the war. Yet this is the sign of the times, people, to come. Even the soldiers are tired of fighting a people who did not do a damn thing to them. And yet we are invading their lands and taking their oil and opium. Don't get it twisted. We're not in Afghanistan for democracy. I promise you that. And then you get this new thing that people haven't even begun to even realize yet. The martial law. The military police state. Right now, there are sections in each city where the local police, they got tanks, people. they got all those little infrared weapons and guns to see through, to peep through walls. Because they are not, the Homeland Security wasn't for protecting us, but it was for arresting us. And that's what I'm talking about, the calamities. Homeland Security is going to begin to invade the people of America. And they're going to do it through local forces. When they implement a law, so it be. If you out beyond 6 without an ID or a chip, then you are jailed. And if you resist, you may be killed. There will be no order. There will be no rights. And this is what they're preparing for. That is one of the darkest signs that the elites are losing their grip on power, is the construction of the militarized police state, trained combat, domestic civil unrest, local cops, tanks, combat gear. They working with feds, infusion centers. Active Army units are on American soil for the first time in history. The NSA spy grid is being used by the IRS and the DEA, and the elimination of due process for Americans under the NDAA are just some of the tyranny moves they're going to make to secure the elite criminals from public backlash. They're cleverly scared, and they should be given what they've done to the American people in the Constitution. In America, succession movements are winning over the public in the parts of Colorado and California. In Europe, serious succession movement are happening in Spain and Scotland, as well as several EU nations flirting with the idea of dropping out of the euro. You got money problems, and you got the elite being afraid of what's to come. So, like I told you, this is their last bang. But understand this, people. This is not to put fear in you. Understand, they know God's going to win in the end. But what they're saying is, out of fear and anger, is, well, since we're going to go, we're going to take as many as we can with us. Almost like Sodom and Gomorrah. When that whole city was corrupt, and God reminded Abram that he was going to just wipe the whole thing out. And his nephew Lot was down there. And Abram couldn't believe he was going to wipe everybody out. But anything that's corrupt, you better head for the hills. And the wonderful thing about God is this: there's going to be a sound, people. This is why I talk about being connected with God and spiritually connected with God. Not religion. I'm not talking about running your pastor. No. You have to have your own relationship with God. Because when you hear that sound, and not even the elite will know it, that sound is going to prepare you to move before God comes and wipe them out. He's not going to wipe out everybody. But please believe, if you're an unbeliever, you going to roll with them too. If you're sitting there, oh, I'm an atheist, but you're going to be right there with them too. Or if you're straddling the fence, you're going to be right there with them too. Either you are a believer, you are sold out, with no doubt, or you're just going to roll right on with them too. The choice is yours. The choice has always been man's to do wrong or right. And what a shame it is that a few decided, ooh, we can take their stuff, because they give it so freely. Let's just take their power and what they taught us and use it against them. What a demonic and stupid mentality. And then they even think you're gonna do it forever. That's so amazing. So amazing. I've always said the wealthiest people are the laziest people because they have nothing. Nothing. I worked in a state jail, and the wealthy people remind me of inmates who got life because the wealthy are sentenced to death anyway, and the wicked. And when you got life, you ain't got nothing but time to figure out how many evil things you can do just to have fun. It's for their own enjoyment, because once you got life in prison, you can't get more life. That's how the wealthy is. They just sit back and watch things. I mean, to the fact that they're creating storms and earthquakes and all these things like an inmate. But when you think about it, they are, because their mind is trapped. It's in darkness. Soon darkness will have to visit the light real soon. Another factor is the GMO products. A lot of countries are rejecting everywhere GMOs except America. If you control the food, you control the people. This is true, people. But much more difficult in practice, GMO leaders like Monsanto's are being exposed. All of their economic and political strength cannot defeat the spread of knowledge about the dangers of pesticide soaked frankenfoods. GMO fields are being burned in protests in America and around the world. Informed nations continue to reject their products, and labeling laws are gaining tractions. But you gotta be mindful. You have to be mindful, people. That's why I always say, get you a tower garden. You can go to towergarden.com. You can go to YouTube and learn how to plant your own gardens inside your homes, people. Your own herbs and natural. Because let me tell you something. All that meat you eating, I thank God I only eat meat maybe 3 to 4 times a week now. Won't be no meat. Gonna be beans and vegetables and fruits. And that's it. But that is how God had it in the beginning.
90 seconds.
So you're gonna have to prepare yourself and wean yourself off of buying food from local stores and groceries, and grow your own produce. Because let me tell you something about evil people in this country. There's too much money invested in GMOs. So all they're gonna do is change the label. It might say organic. You don't know, and you're not going to know until it's too late. I promise you. I promise you. Begin to learn how to grow your own fruits and or vegetables, but test the soil too. Because they're going to be spraying all kind of stuff. When they catch on you growing your own stuff, they're going to just start spraying stuff in the air. You got to be mindful, people. You got to be mindful. And another thing is this, and I just finally really got hooked on this because I really wasn't paying close attention, but the cannabis liberation, first, when they said Colorado, I think California legalized marijuana, people were so excited about it. But then I began to read more and more about it because it's all over the place about marijuana legalization. And this will think that, it's for recreational purposes, but it's not. It is not, people. Cannabis has been a powerful medicine for physical, mental, and spiritual health throughout the ages. And a single plant represents a huge threat to the power structures and their industries is seemingly senseless illegalities. And the reason why is because people become more healthier when smoking cannabis. Mentally, physically, and spiritually, they're gaining their mind. Because let me tell you something, everything I'm talking about tonight starts with the mind. And I just read you, if you control the food, you control the people. And I'm not talking about not having food. I'm talking about putting substance in the food to weaken your process. They put stuff in those GMOs whereas you don't, when something is wrong, you look at it and say, oh, well, that's what they say. I got some friends of mine right now that you can tell them right now, there's a new law saying you got to give your car to your neighbor on every Thursday. They ain't seen the law, but if you put it on the news, they'll start doing it. That's what food does to you. It just dumb you down to the fact that whatever you hear, you just believe it. I got to give my car to my neighbor every Thursday. That's what they said on TV. Just dumbed down, beaten, defeated. You might be walking around and going to football games and laughing and going to bars and having a good time with your buddy, but you're dead. Dead. And that's how the corporate world needs you. Because it makes their job easier and not a whole lot of fighting going on, or not much resistance. But they know there's going to be a ton of resistance. This is the nation on the move, people. Just like it was in the Bible. When God decided to move a people, his people, God first had to get rid of those snakes. He had to cut the head off the snake. And that is the elite, that old money, who refused to give up power and control, which God never, ever gave them. Satan did. And we know that at the end of the day, he reigns. He reigns. Listen, my time is up, and I thank you all for tuning in. And please don't forget to follow us on our Blog Talk Radio show at www.blogtalkradio.com/Holy Spirits, as well as on our Facebook page, Inspiring Truths. And there you'll find all our information. And we hope for you to like us and friend us. And as we say in parting, to love yourselves is to know yourselves. And to know yourselves simply comes by spending time with God. We love you. Peace and God bless.